What if I told you one of football's greatest underdog stories didn't begin inside a world-class stadium, but on a group of small islands that most fans have never even heard of? A country with fewer than 600,000 people, no football giants, no endless supply of superstar talent, and for decades, almost no chance of competing with Africa's biggest teams. Yet somehow, this tiny nation would rise from complete obscurity to challenge football powerhouses and chase a dream many believed was impossible. This is the incredible story of Cape Verde, a team that proved heart, belief, and smart planning can sometimes overcome money and history. Sitting in the Atlantic Ocean, around 600 kilometers off Africa's west coast, Cape Verde is made up of 10 volcanic islands. It's famous for breathtaking scenery, but life here has never been easy. The islands have faced droughts, limited farmland, and economic hardship for generations. As a result, thousands of Cape Verdeans left home to build new lives abroad. Eventually, something extraordinary happened. More people of Cape Verdean descent were living overseas than on the islands themselves. Communities flourished in Portugal, France, the Netherlands, Belgium, and other European countries. No one realized it at the time, but this global community would one day become the country's greatest footballing advantage. Cape Verde became independent in 1975, but building a national football team was far from simple. Money was scarce, facilities were basic. Even arranging international matches was a challenge. When they finally joined FIFA and began competing, expectations were almost non-existent. Against Africa's traditional powers, they looked hopelessly outmatched. Year after year, defeats piled up. But while results disappointed, a small group of people refused to believe Cape Verde would always remain outsiders. One of them was a former national team captain named Bubista. He had experienced every struggle firsthand. He remembered playing on poor pitches, wearing basic equipment, and representing a country that few people took seriously. When his playing career ended, he stayed with the national team, not because it offered fame or fortune, but because he believed Cape Verde could achieve much more. That belief would eventually change everything. As football continued to grow across Europe, young players with Cape Verdean roots were developing inside some of the continent's best academies. Many had never lived on the islands. Some dreamed of representing Portugal or France. Others barely spoke Cape Verde's native Creole language. Most countries would have accepted losing these players forever. Cape Verde chose a different path. Instead of focusing only on footballers born at home, they began reaching out to talented players across the world who shared Cape Verdean heritage. It wasn't easy. Why would a promising young player choose a nation that had never achieved anything in international football? The answer wasn't money. It was identity. Officials spoke about family, culture, and representing the country their parents or grandparents had left behind. Slowly, players started saying yes. 1 became 2. 2 became 5. Then an entirely new generation began to believe in the project. The results didn't improve overnight, but something important was changing. Cape Verde no longer looked like a team hoping to avoid heavy defeats. They played with confidence. They defended as a unit. And for the first time, stronger nations began taking them seriously. Every international break introduced another talented player from Europe. Some had been trained in elite academies. Different childhoods, different football cultures. But when they wore the blue shirt of Cape Verde, they played for the same dream. The team was becoming stronger with every passing year. Then came the breakthrough that changed the country's football history forever. Cape Verde qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations for the first time. For many nations, qualifying for a continental tournament is expected. For Cape Verde, it was nothing short of a miracle. Experts predicted they would simply enjoy the experience before heading home. Instead, they shocked everyone. Playing fearless football, they refused to be intimidated by bigger names. Every match proved they belonged. Every performance earned respect. By the end of the tournament, Cape Verde wasn't being described as a lucky outsider anymore. They had become one of Africa's most exciting rising teams. And suddenly, an even bigger dream came into focus: the FIFA World Cup. For the first time in history, qualification didn't seem impossible. The players believed, the fans believed, the entire country believed. But football can be cruel. Just when Cape Verde thought they had taken the biggest step in their history, everything came crashing down. A controversial FIFA decision would erase one of the greatest achievements the nation had ever celebrated. For many teams, that kind of heartbreak would have ended the dream. For Cape Verde, it became the beginning of something even greater. The tiny nation that refused to stay invisible. Cape Verde's incredible rise. Just when Cape Verde believed they were on the verge of making history, everything changed. After an incredible World Cup qualifying campaign, the nation celebrated what they thought was a place in the final playoff round. For a country that had spent decades fighting for recognition, it felt like the greatest achievement in its football history. Then FIFA stepped in. A dispute over an ineligible player led to Cape Verde being stripped of their place, handing the opportunity to another nation instead. For the players and supporters, it was devastating. Years of sacrifice had disappeared with a single decision. Many wondered if Cape Verde would ever recover. But sometimes, the strongest teams are built after their greatest heartbreak. Rather than giving up, the Federation doubled down on the vision that had already begun transforming the national team. Scouts searched across Europe for players with Cape Verdean heritage. They weren't always looking for famous names. Sometimes they found players hidden in lower divisions. Others had been overlooked by bigger football nations despite their talent. Each new arrival strengthened the squad and added another piece to the puzzle. The message was simple. No matter where you were born, if Cape Verde was part of your story, you had a place in this team. Eventually, the man who had believed in that dream from the beginning returned to lead it. Bubista became the national team's head coach. More than tactics, he wanted to build a family. Many players had grown up speaking different languages and living in different cultures, but once they entered the national team, they represented one identity. They learned about Cape Verde's history. They embraced its culture. Most importantly, they played for something bigger than themselves. That unity became one of the team's greatest strengths. The results soon followed. Cape Verde once again qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations, and this time they looked stronger than ever. They defended with discipline, they attacked with confidence, and they played without fear, no matter who stood on the other side of the pitch. Football fans across Africa began realizing this wasn't another lucky underdog story. Cape Verde had become a genuinely competitive team. The world rankings improved. More talented dual-nationality players chose Cape Verde over waiting for bigger countries to call. The project that had once seemed impossible was now attracting footballers who truly believed in its future. Then came another major test: World Cup qualification. Unlike previous campaigns, this squad carried experience, confidence, and a deeper pool of talent. Every match mattered. Every point brought them closer to history. There were setbacks along the way. Key players suffered injuries. Pressure continued to grow. Yet every obstacle only strengthened the group's determination. Instead of relying on individual stars, Cape Verde trusted teamwork. Every player understood their role. Every victory strengthened belief. And suddenly, qualification no longer felt like a dream. It felt achievable. When the decisive matches arrived, Cape Verde produced some of the finest performances in the country's football history. They defended bravely against stronger opponents. They remained calm under enormous pressure. Most importantly, they never abandoned the identity that had carried them this far. A team built from players scattered across Europe. A squad representing families separated by oceans. A nation once dismissed as too small to compete, now stood on the edge of football history. When the final whistle confirmed their achievement, celebrations erupted across the islands and throughout Cape Verdean communities around the world. For many supporters, this wasn't simply qualification. It was proof that decades of patience, sacrifice, and belief had finally been rewarded. Cape Verde's rise reminds us why football remains the world's most unpredictable sport. Success isn't always measured by population, or wealth, or famous clubs. Sometimes it's measured by courage, by unity, by refusing to let disappointment become defeat. The islands that once struggled just to compete had become an inspiration for every underdog in world football. Their story proves that dreams don't belong only to giants. They belong to those willing to fight for them. And perhaps that's why Cape Verde's journey is about far more than football. It's a reminder that no nation is too small to dream, and no obstacle is too great when people believe in a shared purpose. For years, the football world overlooked Cape Verde. Now, it watches with respect. Because this tiny island nation didn't ask for recognition, it earned it. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Every week, we uncover the most unbelievable stories from the world of football, from forgotten legends and historic upsets to inspiring underdog journeys that deserve to be remembered. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.